Okay.
Monday, September 14th, and we are going to call the special meeting for reimagining public safety to order. Again, this special committee was created to allow each and every council member to collectively work together as we look at public safety here in the city of Akron. So therefore, each and every council member is a member of this committee. So I'm just going to ask if our clerk will do the roll call.
Baylor,
Yes.
Connor,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
Fusco,
Aye.
Kamer, Lombardo,
Aye.
McKittrick,
Aye.
Malik,
Aye.
Neal,
Here.
Amobian,
Aye.
Sample,
You did get me right.
Somerville.
Oh, Mobile.
Here.
I did.
Okay, I wasn't sure. Okay.
I got you. Mhm. And Swirsky.
Here.
Okay,
All members are
perfect.
present except Kamer and Samples.
Okay, thank you so much. So we'll get started. We're going to wait a couple minutes for Chief Ball to join us, but in the meantime, we'll kind of talk about some things as we are looking to prepare for our special working group starting this week. So I know that this Wednesday, accountability and transparency will meet at 5, and this Thursday, personnel and culture will also meet at 5 o'clock. Really wanted to take the opportunity just to see if any council members have any questions before we kind of begin to start this process. When Chief Ball joins us here shortly, he's going to kind of lay the foundation, talk a little bit about what's happening currently within the Akron Police Department as it relates to culture, accountability, transparency, technology, and prevention. And as just as a way for us to kind of see what's happening, but also when you begin to work in your working groups, you can begin to take a deeper dive in looking at, how we can be more efficient, how can we do things better, how can we be more creative as it relates to public safety. Chief Ball will also share with us, we've assigned a police liaison to each and every working group, just to make it easy for the working groups to be able to access information, get questions answered. You have a go-to person at your disposal if need be. So at this time, I think what we can do is kind of just open it up just to see if anyone has any questions about what the process is, what it looks like. I hope that you've been in contact with the chairs of your working groups, and you guys are communicating. Do we have any questions at this time? And Sarah, also help me if you see any hands up that I don't see.
This is Linda Omobian.
Yes, Linda.
I don't know if there are any hands up. The working group, is this council members working amongst ourselves, or can we invite others to these meetings?
Absolutely. So it is council members working collectively together, but we want you to be able to reach out, maybe bring in, experts in certain areas. There might be someone in the community that's knowledgeable about a certain topic, so you're able to bring people in that can help you guys form your recommendations.
Okay.
Okay. Because again, what we want you guys to be able to do in your groups, we want you to look at, what are some of the existing practices and policies and laws? We also want you to look at the financial cost, what are some of the budgetary concerns? Looking at best practices, all those types of things. Shamus, I see your hand.
Yeah, Margot, I was just gonna thank you very much for all of this. And I just wanted to ask, I don't know if maybe John or you can clarify. I know that we've talked about the public meetings laws and making sure that we're following all of those. With regard to communication, about the different working groups, how should we think about communicating outside of the meetings?
think that's a great question. And probably what we'll do, Sarah, if you can, maybe see if John can join us too.
John is here.
But John
John, are
York?
you available to answer that question? Yes, John York is here.
Okay.
John, you're muted.
Thanks. Do you have any particular example in mind, Shamus?
Yeah, I guess just in terms of discussing, preparing for each working group meeting, is there an issue with two members of that working group talking with amongst each other about
how many members are on the working group?
Each of them are 3 people.
3 people. Yeah, so I mean, that would be a majority. Discussing, potentially public business outside of a public meeting.
And
So I think we'd have to give it some thought and possibly get back to all of you as far as just being sure that open meetings laws are observed.
In some of my discussions with Brian Angeloni, I know maybe he can help us with this later, but I know that he said that the best practice might be to try to route, information and ideas and stuff through Sarah, so that we're not sort of, brainstorming and sort of deliberating amongst ourselves. I know that makes things more difficult, but anyways, I just wanted to raise it.
Well, thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Shamus. That's good. And really what we've done, because we've done a lot of work, with the law department to be able to do this. We know that this is the very first time ever that council has collectively come together to work on or talk about a particular issue. And so really what we want council members to do is we want you to do all of your brainstorming, connecting, and talking during your actual working group sessions, okay? So that is a public meeting. So all of your discussion, conversations, brainstorming should be done during your working group sessions, okay? So if there's something, that you want to further discuss, you didn't get a chance to discuss it at the first one, save it for the next, okay? So again, that way we remain in law with open meeting laws, okay? Linda, do I see your hand?
no, on the thing or just my hand?
Okay. Okay.
No, I was putting lotion on my hand.
It's
But
okay.
no,
Yeah.
well, it's an interesting, I guess the reason I raised the question was primarily because, with the quick response team, they have given me some thinking of what some people are considering best practice and trying to do something outside of the box. And the young lady or the Summit County Public Health staff, it would be nice to invite whoever that social service provider is to hear more about their experience and going out with officers. Because I've kind of talked a little bit about to some professional social workers and counselors about people that would be interested in doing this kind of work. So it'd be interesting to hear what their experience has been.
Absolutely, Linda. So you can definitely do that. Again, we want this work to be meaningful. So whatever we have to do, whatever resources or individuals that you feel that, you need to bring to the table, we want working groups to do that. Councilman Swirsky?
Yeah, I think that's Linda's idea is very good. I think we do have to be, committee members. Probably there should be one person who sort of, at least sort of looks at the agenda for each meeting.
Hey, Kathy, it's Ellen. Can
And-
you transfer me to Brad?
So looks for the agenda for each meeting and knows ahead of time who the speakers are going to be. If we do start inviting guests, I have some ideas for the first meeting for my prevention committee. I've already talked to some people, but Linda, you and I could work together and maybe
Sure.
the second meeting have those people that you're suggesting. That it sounds really
Yeah, I
good.
haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
haven't
just think
talked to
for all
anybody
the
about
committees,
coming.
yeah, we should all just
Yeah.
make sure we're working together on our, you know, so we don't have 4 different people showing up at one time. And yeah, sounds good.
That sounds great. And I know that I think that Chief Ball has just logged in. Chief, are you with us?
Yes.
Perfect.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you. And so I just want to say that, you know, again,
Mhm.
although this is a Akron City Council led initiative, we know that we cannot do it alone, right? And so the whole idea is that we do want to work in collaboration and in partnership with the Akron Police Department so that we can really make sure that the work that we're doing is meaningful. This is an opportunity for each and every one of us as council members to really learn what is happening in public safety here in the city of Akron, and how can we support our officers? How can we make their jobs a little bit more easier so that we can address some of these issues? So Chief, we're gonna turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Basically, moving forward, we've assigned liaisons for each of the 4 work groups. They are captains, lieutenants, or sergeants in the department that work in those areas that most closely relate to the specific topics of those subcommittees. I'm sorry about the mix-up for the time today. I had 1 o'clock for a number of different communications, so I really haven't had a chance to grab my resource material. But I will say that we certainly, there's a lot to learn. This organization has always been one that examined ourselves, that has constantly looked out and to try and figure out if there are things that we could do better, things that were necessary to improve, things that we shouldn't be doing. I appreciate some of the sentiment that is accepting and supporting of that, but I haven't heard a lot of that in any of these conversations, which is a great frustration. And, you know, I would say that I'm thankful to be here, but I'm not. I'm frustrated. I think this department is an exceptional police department, and I know that you all feel like there's a bigger role for law enforcement in other places that are not getting things right, but it's not this place. And it's disappointing to me that this council doesn't know more about who we are and what we do and how we develop policies and what's our recent history been. And I think a part of that, these knee-jerk reactions to something that happens in other parts of the country, it feeds the dissatisfaction that exists, not with all people either. There is a very vocal minority that are putting this stuff out. I've gotten tons and tons of letters of support and encouragement from our community and emails almost every single day. But I don't get that same kind of community support from this council, and it's a huge frustration. I think it's unfair. It's undermining of the brave men and women of this organization who go out every single day and put their lives at risk to get the job done that is so difficult and so dangerous. And then, you know, there's a whole group nationwide that is wanting to come in and Monday morning a quarterback without training, without experience, and with a very limited perspective. And part of my frustration comes from this. I've had set up 2 trainings for city council in the last 2 years for each of you to be able to come in and communicate with me and with my command staff and talk about who we are as an organization, help you to understand what trainings we have done in the past, what trainings we're looking forward to, and the ways that we try to improve this police department. And on each occasion, I've had 4 out of 13 city council members that have even bothered to show up for events that were planned long in advance so that schedules could be cleared. They were scheduled at dates that each had preferable dates and times for the council. That was helped to be organized by the council clerk. This may not have been what you expected, but you know, I'm at my like tipping point. These kind of conversations, and I'll go back to the legislation that was passed earlier this year that was so short-sighted and an urgency. For whatever reason, there was an urgency to get that passed in 2 days is beyond me. I can't even imagine. There was no conversation whatsoever And I was told on Monday that there wasn't going to be a vote that morning because there certainly was a perspective that I could have added to that conversation, or other law enforcement could have added to that conversation, that would have been extremely helpful. And we wouldn't have gone out and made a decision, maybe not. At least I would have given my best effort to help you understand why it was not the best choice at the moment. And it likely will lead to the loss of life that's completely unnecessary, when a tool that can be very helpful and fit very specific circumstances that could have prevented a death may now actually lead toward a death, which is so frustrating. But I
Chief
will
Paul,
tell you,
Chief Paul, if we could just pause here for one moment so that we can all, I think, get back onto the same page. We find ourselves in this place, having this conversation, creating this special committee, really because when things began to happen, we know it didn't happen here in the city of Akron, right? But when things began to happen across the country, council members were bombarded with phone calls and emails, bringing up this whole conversation, this topic of defunding police. And many of my colleagues on Akron City Council believe that defunding the police is not the direction that we need to be going. It's not the conversation that we need to be having. But what we wanted to do, and we're going to do that through this process, and hopefully we're going to be able to do that in partnership and collaboration with you, is to be able to kind of see, hey, listen, what are some of those great things that we are doing here in the city of Akron? Again, how can we do things better? How can we maybe reimagine public safety here in the city of Akron so that we can ensure and make sure that some of the things that are happening across the country continue to not happen or will never happen here in the city of Akron. So when we came up with this concept and idea, we sat down and we had a really great positive conversation with Major Capers and Sergeant Knoll, because we thought it was a really great opportunity for council and Akron Police to do, again, something that has never really been done before, is to dialogue and have a conversation of how we can better work together to look at public safety in the city of Akron. Again, Chief, you have to understand, as council members, particularly ward members, we're getting conversations and phone calls and emails all the time. And so again, it's just an opportunity for us to conversate it and come up with ideas of how we can look at public safety in the city of Akron. This is not an attack, but it's an opportunity for us to work together to see what is it that we are doing? Are there some things that we can do better? Can council be a better support to the Akron Police Department? Those are the type of conversations that we want to have. This is something that we want to be positive. I think it's a conversation that should have been happening long ago before now. And so this is why we find ourselves in this place, not an attack, not to be against, but an opportunity for us collectively to come together, to work together, to move the city forward in a positive direction as it relates to public safety. So I apologize if you feel that this is a personal attack, because it's not. We are extremely unfortunate. I have tried to say it. I know many of my colleagues have said it many times before, that we are extremely proud of the Akron Police Department here in the city of Akron. But again, it is our job as city council members to have these conversations, to look at best practices, to look at laws on the books, and to have these discussions. And some of these discussions aren't comfortable discussions, not discussions we might not want to have, but we need to. And so this is really and truly a process where we're trying to work together collectively. And that's what we want to be able to do. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to do that.
I understand that. And that's why when I first started, I said, we're going to participate, and we're going to participate in this effort as partners. And we are going to offer every single bit of information that we have, and we're going in with eyes wide open. And if there's anything at all that we can reach together and that can be possible for us as an organization to either adopt or reject, then we will do that, because our overwhelming desire, and it's never flinched, is for us to be the most outstanding law enforcement department that there is. But I also know when some of the things you say, what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to be responding to our community. Yes. And so when those emails come in and when those phone calls happen, And especially when there is a microphone or a camera available, that needs to be a part of every single one of those conversations. That although, this is not the place. We have been open, and when you say, well, there's room for us to learn, and I've always come over and I've always answered every one of your questions. And when I invite you in or I have conversations with each of you or some of you individually, I'll stay until it's done, until that person is satisfied, and make sure when I'm speaking at community events, it's the same thing that's happening. And it's not me, it's the culture of this organization, and our officers are doing the same thing. People talk about police community relations need to improve and officers need to be in the neighborhoods. They have no idea what we're doing. And quite frankly, the council doesn't have an idea of what we're doing, because we send emails out every single week, and half the time those aren't even opened. And we also send out other information, or in phone calls, get mailboxes are full, or somebody will call me 2 days later and say, hey, what about this? What about this? Information was sent out 2 days ago. So it is got to be an equal effort, without an agenda coming in that we're like every other organization, or that this department is racist at its core, because it's not. And it's hard for me to communicate both sides of this, because I'm frustrated and I'm angry, but at the same point in time, we're not going to change who we are because we are frustrated and angry. We are going to participate. I'll answer any question that anybody has to ask about this department in whatever capacity they come from, because I think it's necessary, and transparency is critical. And I want this to be a department that is transparent beyond what most organizations would be, because it's healthy. So I'm sure that there will be many follow-up conversations where some more of this can be expressed, and those sentiments of support and appreciation can be heard, and it'll go a long way to helping to improve the morale in this police department when they see our leaders starting to speak about that. And maybe it improves with us participating in this process. So that is going to be what's happening. We will remove some of our frustrations from most of those conversations and work in a way that is collaborative to make the best police department that we can, and to satisfy those responsibilities that we have collectively for leadership in the city. I'm going to send out after this meeting, and again, didn't have time to get everything together because of the mix up on the time, but I will send out an email to all council members, and I will identify those liaisons. I had sent it previously to Rich, but I want something that's easier for you to be able to read, and with contact information for all of the participants that will be helping you during this process. And I would also encourage you at any point in time, you can contact myself, either one of the majors. We will participate when it's needed, or when it's appropriate or you prefer. But you'll know who to go to, and information will be provided by us for any topic that you want. And if there's information that is that's derogatory, then let's discover it together, and we don't want any of it. So again, that's where we're at.
All right. Thank you, Chief. Councilman Swirsky.
Yeah, Chief, I guess I'm impressed with your honesty about your feelings, and I'm also impressed with your ability to sort of work past the feelings. I know that there is often kind of people barking at the moon about police issues. They don't know what they're talking about. And I do know that we haven't done as good a job as council members at finding out more about the police department and how you operate. These committees, the first thing my committee is going to do is hear from people who are involved in prevention activities. And there's a lot of positive things that you are doing. And most of the committees are going to start off by giving the police a chance to share what's being done that's right, and what that's being implemented that's good, that we should all be proud of. And so this collaborative effort that we've proposed, and that you're accepting, even though, I mean, it's hard to be immune from some of the national media and local media where things aren't being treated as maybe you would like them to be. This is a sit down, eyeball to eyeball discussion. And we are going to hear the good things that you are doing. We are also going to look at, see if there's other things around the country that might be able to be implemented. And we're going to do that with you, which I think is a pretty good gesture of goodwill. The fact that we've invited you to be at the table with us as we take a look. And we were elected to take a look at all of the operations of the city council and to provide advice when we think it's necessary. And so I'm looking forward. I know each and every day you wake up and you're trying to figure out how can police department be the best that it can be. And hopefully you will see us as a resource, as an asset, and the questions in this process, as we originally, when we first talked with some of your, the other chiefs and you and I, that this ultimately is a good thing if we all respect each other, if we all listen to each other, we can move forward in areas where there maybe needs to be some change, but we can also celebrate the good things that are already happening. And I hope, you know, if you want to come back sometime and talk about the good things, and it's your, I think the rest of council would love to hear it. If you want to do that in front of the whole group, that would be great. That'd be great. Would that be something you'd like to do?
Sure, Rich. I've tried to create those opportunities on multiple occasions. So yes,
Yes.
absolutely, I would.
Yeah,
And then
it's
it
got
would
to be an
great to hear
ongoing.
some of that information.
Yeah. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. And you know,
Here, let me give you a quick.
let me just one more thing. We all, I think everybody here really appreciates the difficult job that you and the whole police force has. It's maybe the most difficult job in city operations and city services. And we know that, and we know it in our wards, and we know the situations. We know they're much more complex than at times the public knows about. And we really respect the courage and the persistence and the stamina of those who work with you in addressing problems that are really important to our constituents. We all feel that way. Gosh, we really feel that way.
Thank you so much, Councilman Swirsky. At this time, I know we do have an extremely full day, but I wanted to give an opportunity if there were any other council members that wanted to have a comment at this time before we conclude.
Not sure if you, I'm not sure if you can see that Councilwoman Amobian's hand is raised.
I can't. Councilwoman Amobian?
I just pressed to ask you to unmute. I'm not sure if you can see that, Councilwoman Amobian.
Am I unmuted now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Chief Ball, I'm rather surprised, but I certainly appreciate your reaction to all of this. But I was under the impression that this was done with your involvement. I had no idea that it was done separate from you. I realize council is a separate entity.
Just a pause there, because we have been having conversations. So I'm shocked too. I'm extremely shocked in terms of the chief's response reaction. Okay.
And I do understand
we've
what
been
you're
working
feeling.
with Major Capers and Sergeant Noel. So we have been working.
Okay. I hear what you're saying,
Okay.
but I guess I get the feeling from him with the level of his emotions and reaction to this process.
Well, you know, and I would say this: nobody in this police department is going to step up and speak so candidly, because I would never put that. I would never put that on them.
I think Councilwoman Amobian is still speaking, but her connection's kind of bad.
Didn't feel that he. No. Hello, can you hear me?
Okay, we can hear you now. You're going in and out. We can hear you now.
I'm sorry. I was simply saying that I can appreciate his reaction to all of this, but I was certainly under the impression that he was more involved than it sounded like he was. Um, I was at Akron, say anything about defunding the police department. If someone has said that, I totally have been without knowledge. I haven't heard that from anybody that I've spoken with, that we are even thinking about that. And I think in every meeting where things are proposed, more equipment and more resources for the police department to modernize, improve, become the best that you can be with the resources you need, I think we've always approved them. Certainly we've had questions, and we should, but we've always approved the things that you guys have requested and certainly gone out and gotten money for. And with issue, 3, whatever it was that passed, we certainly have been utilizing the resource as well. So I'm not really sure how I feel after hearing you today about what you are hoping to get out of this, because if we're going to be sitting at the table talking about what we want to do to make our city safer, I certainly want people to be there who really want to be there and want to explore together, because this is what this is. It's an exploration of what can we do as a city. So I'm troubled by your reaction, and I hope the officers that come to these committee meetings are coming with a sense that whatever we can do to be helpful. And I know we're trying to be preventive more than anything else, because the things we have seen in other cities, we certainly haven't seen them at great levels or that kind of abuse. We've had some issues, certainly, there's no question about that, but we've not seen those levels of abuse that we have seen. So I'm kind of troubled by your reaction, and at the same time, I certainly would like to move forward if this is the direction we need to go. I don't know, did you have some other ideas or suggestions, Chief Ball?
No, and I want to reiterate that my comments were that we're going to do it, and we're going to be open-minded and participatory in every way that's necessary. But it seems as if, I mean, this didn't happen in 2019. It didn't happen in 2018. It all was a significant reaction after George Floyd, and that was the catalyst to these conversations. So it is frustrating that there is suddenly this
So you
scrutiny
think
of the police.
you think this is a knee-jerk reaction to that case, or is that what you're thinking?
Well, I do. I think it is from that case and from other cases that have gotten attention, a ton of attention over the last several years. And then using those out of the millions and millions, 375 million calls a year that police respond to. And the crazy low numbers that those numbers represent as a percentage of policing. Now, obviously, there's significant events, and you don't want to get into any situation where there's a loss of life and it wasn't justified.
Sure.
But this reaction in our country, in some ways, and I think also here, is just so disproportionate to exactly what's going on. But I assure you that we want to do whatever we possibly can. And I agree with Councilwoman President Somerville that in order to do that, we may need your assistance. We may need a push in the right direction, or just a blind lifted up. And so we're looking forward to that. So everybody is going to be. So probably this is just a growing frustration. This weekend in Los Angeles County, 2 sheriff's deputies were ambushed and shot while they sat in their car, and protesters were at the hospital blocking the entrances so the ambulances couldn't get through. And they shouted, "We hope they die," as those officers were being taken into the hospital. It's like this environment that's been created is just unimaginable. And And maybe your response to me is, well, that didn't happen in Akron. Okay, I get that and I understand that, but it just is gaining so much momentum that this anti-cop, anti-police sentiment is taking. I don't think it's taking over, but it gets so much attention and so much public play that it
Yeah.
feels like that's how
And
all
that's
of
totally
America feels.
unacceptable. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Okay, thank you so much, Chief. Well, are there any other council members who have a comment at this time?
Councilman Malik's trying to.
I'm
Councilman
sorry,
Malik
Councilman
is trying-
Malik?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, President Somerville and Chief Paul. I guess I just want to underline my view that there is not a false choice between, looking at how we do public safety and how we do policing and being supportive of our Akron Police Department. I have been strident in some of my comments, but at the same time, I don't think I've had a conversation without saying that we have an institution in the Akron Police Department that's full of decent public servants who are working hard to do their job. But at the end of the day, this is an institution that we delegate the power to use deadly force. And that power comes along with scrutiny. And absolutely, we appreciate the work that's being done by you and by the members of the department. But at the same time, this is not something that can be only categorized as an issue that's outside of the city of Akron. There's certainly distrust of law enforcement with communities within the city of Akron, and that's a concern that has to be addressed. There was our immediate past police chief had to leave in part because of racial comments that he made. We have officers, we have a discipline system that does not, in some cases, adequately hold folks accountable when they have issues, although I know that's something we have all tried to work on. And so, we have an opportunity here to really dig into these issues. And I'll be the first one to tell you that I'm trying my best to learn as much as I can. And I know we all will try to live up to our responsibility to learn as much as we can. But at the end of the day, this is a department that has been at the forefront of a lot of things. We adopted body cameras in 2013. Before that was a national trend. The mayor and yourself and others have worked to hold officers accountable when there are issues and get people on the right track. But at the same time, I just want to underline and underscore that this is a conversation that needs to happen. Policing only works, as when there is the trust of the community, and we have to build mechanisms and sustain mechanisms to have that trust.
Thank you so much, Councilman Malik. Well said. Are there any other council members that want to give a comment at this time? I know for sake of time, we're going to wrap up unless there's anyone else. Sarah, do you see anyone on your side?
Councilman Neal.
Oh, Councilman Neal, thank you.
You didn't see me.
Oh, well, thank you. I just want us all to understand, we have our local issues, but we all are impacted by what's happening nationally. And Chief Ball, I hope you understand. I can only speak for myself. I feel your frustration, not with the police department, but with us as a collective body not being able to be more expedient to addressing the needs in our community. I'm going to give you an example. Speeding has been an issue in our community ever since I've been on council. 8.5 years ago, council passed legislation to bring in speed humps. Councilman Freeman brought that to our council's attention after working with the police department, the service department, 8.5 years ago. We're just now implementing it. So that is not an indictment on this administration. I'm not even going to say it's an indictment on the last administration. It is an indictment on the systemic practice of government. We have to change the way we govern. God forbid if we've lost a life to a child or anyone else because of speeding in our neighborhoods, when 8.5 years ago, we passed something that could have prevented that. Now, to this violence that's happening in our community, working with Ms. Sampson, who I see is on this call, the police department, at that time, it was Lieutenant Brown, the Kent State University, the county, and grassroots organizations in our community like the Womb, Stop the Violence, and others. This council and the city, we put forth a plan to address violence in our community. We went after $1 million grant. We didn't get the grant, but that was our plan. Council even passed part of that plan, but we haven't implemented it. Now, unlike the speed humps, I can't tell you how many children have been hit. I can tell you that every year we're losing 30+ lives a year. Would that piece have prevented all those deaths? No, but I can guarantee you it would have prevented some of them, especially now when we're seeing 14, 15, 16-year-olds running through our communities with guns. So I feel your frustration. The men in the community feel the frustration, but it is the breakdown of government, period. So when we go through this, I want us to understand, by the time it gets to the police, we've already got the problem. This isn't just reimagining public safety. This is reimagining how we govern, period.
Okay.
We have to change the way we govern.
Thank you so much, Councilman Neal.
Excuse me, just
I'll let you wrap up. A couple minutes.
Yes,
Couple
please.
other people.
The other part of this is we have to and this goes to the misnomer where people say defunding. It's not defunding, it's how we can best allocate those resources. And Chief Ball, I think, you and I have been talking about this long before this conversation became a national conversation. This council, we've been dealing with putting our budget online so we can understand. So this is one way we could prevent from getting to this point is we have a public safety committee already on council. Our different committees, be it housing, parks and rec, whatever it is, should be engaged with the city's departments and having goals and objectives every year that we use to support the different departments that we work with. So collectively, let's keep in mind that we just have to learn how to govern better. It is going to be some difficult conversations, but I think with us all having the same goal and objective, we could come out better. Not just as a police department, but as a city government.
Absolutely, and that is the goal. Thank you so much, Councilman Neal. I do believe that Councilwoman Baylor had a comment.
I was just gonna say, I gravitated more to the positive concept of the entire thing. And I listened to Chief Ball, and I know that I don't know enough about the Akron Police Department and would like to, but unfortunately I haven't had the time that I could give to that at the time that it was available to me and so forth and so on. But I would like to start out with the different committees with the police department, highlighting the positives, the highlights of what they do in each area, to start with that. I think that would be a good idea if we had our liaisons prepare that for our initial first meetings to give us, that picture, so that then we can stem from that and carry on with the different things that we're going to address during this process. So that's all I wanted to say. Let's just start with that. I think that'd just be a great idea to start our committees with the highlights and the good things that are going on with Akron Police Department.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman Baylor. Councilman Fusco.
I too am troubled by the comments that we heard here earlier. Just that, I look at council as a whole, and the support council as a whole has given legislatively. We are legislators first. That's our jobs as legislators. This council, many are new, but many have been around for a while. Obviously, myself is one. But not long ago, this council stood up along with the administration and supported an increase in income tax, which is not an easy task to do, for sure. But that was in the name of public safety altogether, as well as infrastructure. But I stand on our legislative history with regards to supporting our police department. And certainly it sounds like moving forward, we are going to work together. We're all going to work with police and the legislature to improve our city. And I think that was the end game, the goal altogether. It wasn't anything with regards to the national discussion. And I know that heightens everyone's concern, as it should, as it absolutely should. But the national and the local is somewhat too separate, and I think we realize that. So, hoping moving forward, we're going to be okay and work together to improve our city. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilman Fusco. Are there any other council members who wanted to say something that did not have an opportunity, wanted to give you an opportunity to do so if that was the case? If not, we're going to get ready to adjourn. Again, I want to thank Chief Ball for being willing to come to the table. I am very encouraged that this is a positive thing. This is an opportunity for us to work together collaboratively and obviously repair some relationships that we didn't even know needed some repairing. So there's always opportunity in everything. So at this time, we are going to conclude. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you. Our next committee today is Planning and Economic Development. Those committee members are Fusco, Kamer, Swirsky, Baylor, and Samples. Councilman Fusco, you can get started whenever you're ready.
Okay, let's take 1 minute and then we'll begin.
Sure. Sure.
Okay, very good. We'll begin the Planning Committee meeting of Akron City Council. I'd like to know, I understand that we may have a few members that may not be present. Could you please roll call, Sarah?
Sure. Sure. Fusco,
Aye.
Kamer, Swirsky,
Aye.
Baylor,
Aye.
Samples. All committees are present with the exception of Kamer and Samples.
Okay, very good. Thank you. At this point, I'd like to entertain a motion that we accept the minutes of the last meeting.
So move.
Yes, yeah, that's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The ayes have it. Also, I'd like a motion to suspend all council rules that require or contemplate in-person meetings and in-person voting. I believe we still have to do that.
I make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Very good. Anything else? Thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Sarah, is there any other housekeeping things we need to do before we get into
Nope,
the
that's
agenda?
it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah. Very good. Now we'll go into the list of legislation, the old list of legislation under planning. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and recommend time on the agenda so we can move into the new list of legislation. Okay, short of any concerns or comments. The first item that is up for discussion is the ordinance accepting the, this is under new legislation, accepting the report for the Mall Good Park Urban Renewal, approving the Mall Good Park Urban Renewal Plan and making necessary findings in connection herewith. Someone here on this?
Yes, we would just recommend refer this item for public hearing for next week.
Okay, very good. Is there a motion to refer? I'll make a motion to refer. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Very good. Thank you. Ordinance number 6. Ordinance establish an automobile sales dealership at 1825, 1831 South Main Street. Is there a motion to refer?
Motion to refer.
All those in favor of referring signify by saying aye.
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 Yeah. Have it. Very good. Thank you. 7, ordinance to construct an automobile sales lot at 480 East Wilbur. I see here to refer. Is there a motion to refer?
Motion to refer.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Number 8, ordinance authorizing conditional use to establish a type A childcare day center at 877 Silver Crest. Motion to refer.
Motion to refer.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. 9, authorizing conditional use to establish a type A childcare daycare at 430 Grace Avenue. Motion to refer.
Motion to refer.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye. The ayes. Thank you. 10, ordinance amending supplementing Title 15, Chapter 153 zoning code to establish definitions and Section 153.310 business and industry requirements, establishing a form-based urban overlay district for the East Market Street corridor. Motion to refer, please.
Motion to refer.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. The
Aye.
ayes have it. Very good. We'll count that. Number 11, ordinance amending the zoning map by changing the commercial use district classification on property located on the north side of East Exchange and west of South Arlington, changing the commercial use district on the property located on the east side of South Arlington and the south side of East Exchange to retail business. Motion to refer.
Motion to refer.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. The ayes have it. Thank you. Thank you. 12. Now this one's not going to be referred. Okay. Ordinance authorizing the Director of Planning and Urban Development or his designee to sell the city-owned property located at a vacant lot on Hickory Street and Hubbard Street. And I understand Mr. Westcott may be joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, Councilman Fusco and council members. The city of Akron owns 3 parcels of land on Hickory in the Hickory corridor. We want to sell this land. It totally contains about 24,680 square feet to David Malador Living Trust for $24,806. So we request your approval for that.
Okay, very good. Is there questions or comments from anyone? Mr. Swirsky.
Yes, this is in my ward. David Malador, like other citizens who live on Hickory Street, has had to endure our renewal of our sewers. There's been a lot of more inconvenience isn't really the right word, but it's made his life a little bit difficult there. And he has always been very interested in the general welfare of the city and putting that ahead of his own needs. And I think it also we want to make sure long-term that this property there will benefit all of us. So I strongly support this.
Very good. Is that motion for suspension of the rules, Mr. Swirsky?
Motion for suspension of the rules. Yes, right on the top of my head.
All right, thank you so much. I'll second that. All those in favor of suspension of the rules with a favorable report signify by saying aye.
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 Guys have it. Okay, I'm trying to read really fast as I recognize the time.
You're doing great.
If I stumble,
Unbelievable.
it's like the way my daughter was in high school. She seems. Anyways, ordinance approving the sale of city-owned property pursuant to the city's A Lot for a Little program in order to facilitate the productive reuse of the property and to reduce the cost to the city and the taxpayers in maintaining vacant lots.
Thank you,
Mr.
Councilman
Westcott?
Fusco, and thank you, Councilman Fusco and council members. The city is owner of our property at 53 Jewett Street. We're requesting to sell property for $167. Request of council's approval for such. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Questions or comments? Short of that, is there a motion for suspension of the rules?
Motion for suspension of the rules.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye,
Aye.
aye. The ayes have it. Okay, very good. We'll report that favorable this evening. And the next item is 14, ordinance authorizing the execution of a development agreement with Industrial Realty Group or the designee, providing for the acquisition, sale, and redevelopment of property in the Monroe Falls Road redevelopment plan area. Mr. Hardy, I see you're here for this one.
Bear with me a moment. All right. This is a lot for little. Apologies.
IRG.
Falls Road.
IRG. All right.
IRG.
So we have, as we've talked about before with the committee, we have a lack of what we call speculative warehouse and industrial buildings within the city. Chairman Fusco knows this from years past. You know, we've been very successful with our Ascot Industrial Park and other industrial parks. But as that success has gone, we now don't have any new places for folks to move into. So obviously we've been doing incredible work launching the Firestone Business Park. This is the Monroe Road Industrial Park. So we put out an RFP, and Brad can correct me, early last year, seeking a developer that would be willing to build a speculative, meaning do not have a tenant on the hook yet, industrial building on some of our vacant land in this particular park. And we had a successful bid from IRG. Many of you will probably know IRG. We work with them heavily. They are the redevelopers of the old Goodyear headquarters, as well as other properties in and around Northeast Ohio. And we feel really confident that the deal that we've struck allows them to move forward, but also recognizes COVID and protects the city. So for example, they have, I believe, 18 months to complete their due diligence and design work and get under construction. Otherwise, we get the land back. So we've protected the city's interest, we feel, fairly strongly here, while at the same time still trying to push forward a serious need within the city, which is new industrial space.
Great. Well, I appreciate the aggressiveness of the administration in terms of filling some gaps with regards to our economic development plan. And this is, I'll tell council or committee that, you know, this is both development agreement and the sale, everything looks really good. IRG, of course, has a great reputation in our town in terms of, you know, starting something and seeing it through and success, with no question. There's kind of a lengthy development agreement. I'm gonna ask council to make sure that we digest that and we're comfortable with it. But short of that, is there any questions or comments from any committee members at this time? Okay, hearing none. Any questions from any council members at this time? And Sarah, if you could help. Yes, hi, is this Linda?
Yeah, this is Linda Mobian.
Okay.
Just curious, Mr. Hardy, how do you build an industrial facility without, do they have somebody in mind that they're building it for? Because
did you hear that? Okay.
Yeah.
The specificity.
I'm sorry, James, can you repeat the question?
Mr. Hardy.
I got most of it. Council, if I heard you correctly, your question was really around how can we effectively build speculative industrial without knowing exactly what a new tenant might need in terms of like space needs, et cetera. Got it.
Exactly.
Good.
So one of the things that we've been doing is building a much stronger relationship with Team Neo and Jobs Ohio over the last 5 years. They really have outstanding data and research capabilities looking at the leads that are coming into the state, but not only into the state, into our region and even into the county. So as businesses call, both for expansion needs as well as for new business locations, they keep robust data as to what people are looking for. And I can give you a few examples. Certainly high ceilings, certain AMP services from First Energy. There's a whole plethora of data that they keep. And so we use that and share it with our developers. We did that with Gino Fasciano, who's built the spec building down at the new Firestone Business Park. So it's a bit of a chicken and egg situation, I won't lie. But what we are finding across the state, and certainly what our experience has been even in the past, is that once a facility is constructed, and if it's constructed along the lines of that research, it fills up much, much more quickly than the vacant land itself. And so a lot of times when people call us or they call Team NEO or the chamber and say, we're looking for industrial space, here are our specs, they also say, and by the way, we want to move in 3 months. So it becomes very difficult for us to meet the need without having at least a few things in our repertoire.
That's good. Thank you. Thank you, James.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Linda. Good question. Anyone else here? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to ask council and the committee, of course, to review this in detail. I'm going to ask for a vote next week, so that we can move this forward, because it's a very good plan. So with that, I'm going to ask for a motion to refer this item.
Motion to refer.
Thank you. All those in
Second.
favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Cool. Okay, 15, ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into an agreement with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources for expenses related to the demolition of the Rubber Bowl and the creation of the Finish Line Park at 800 George Washington Boulevard. Okay, Mr. Hardy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Brad and I are here to present on this. This is, again, authorizing us to apply for and receive the last of our state capital grant that paid for the partial demolition of the Rubber Bowl and the creation of what we lovingly refer to as Finish Line Park. I should note that Finish Line Park is simply the name that we came up with when we were going through the process with the state. Should council and the mayor want to change that name at any time, we would be more than happy to see that happen. But yes, this is effectively legislation that allows for us to complete that project, receive our money from the state, and then obviously dedicate the park area as a park.
Awesome. Very good. Mr. Becker, is that who I understand is part of this?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, a brief comment, please.
Yeah, basically all the demolition is completed now, and the park has been graded and seeded. It looks really nice. If you have an opportunity, just put your hand in front of the rest of the Rubber Bowl, and this park looks wonderful. So.
Okay, just curious. There's also a remaining portion of the Rubber Bowl there. So what's the plan for that?
So
we are pursuing additional funding, but go ahead, James.
Yeah, no, Brad is correct. We would like to pursue additional funding. I think it's highly unlikely we would get the state to help us out again. So we are going to have to think this through in our subsequent capital budgets coming through, but we've been trying to be creative. As you guys know, especially Councilman Fusco and Councilman McKittrick know, that portion of the Rubber Bowl actually holds up George Washington Boulevard. So it's not something that it's quite as easy as the demolition we did on the other side. So there's a couple different ways we can do it. We've looked at even just filling it in with dirt as potentially a cheaper option than ripping out the infrastructure. So we're still exploring that, but I think it's going to come before council in a subsequent capital budget.
That's fair. I get it. And I advocated for the filling in program a couple years ago, and I know that there's a lot with that as well in terms of EPA. Any questions from any committee members? Okay, very good. Hearing none. Any questions from any council members at this time? Any questions whatsoever? Okay, very good. Hearing none. Oh, is there one? Oh, okay, Ms. Movian.
I don't know if it's a question. It's question or comment. I was thinking that was the Soapbox Derby area. Is it?
Yes, it's right near directly in the site, and that's what I get what the administration was thinking whenever, I know that our friends at Soapbox Derby, there was a portion of the rubber bowl that where the finish line is, that was pretty
Right.
intrusive, and it didn't look good so that portion of the rubber bowl was raised, but we still have, I don't know, half, 3/4 or something remaining there. And so that's, again, that's going to take more money eventually. So, but this here is the agreement, yeah. Anyone else?
Okay, thank you.
Comments or questions? Is that, this is basically the grant agreement, right, Mr. Hardy?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, yeah, I would recommend approval on this. Is there a motion for suspension of the rules? Mr. Swirsky, is that a motion?
Motion for suspension of the rules.
Thank you. All those in favor of suspension of the rules signify by saying aye.
Aye.
You guys have it. Very good. Thank you. This is the last one, folks. Ordinance authorizing the purchase of various interests in real property located on or around Canton Road to facilitate the completion of some SUM 91-Canton Road Market Street project, authorizing Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a related agreement. Is Mr. Little here? Or someone to
Thank
speak
you,
of this
Mr.
one? I think we know what
Yes,
this is about. But, oh, there you are. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Yeah, this is the last 3 properties that we had to acquire land for the roundabout. So basically, it's the Walgreens property. It is the library. No, we're not taking the whole land. We're just taking partial of the frontage. And then there's one residence. We're just taking a little sliver of land, which is $300. So that's what this is for. ODOT, we'd like to get this passed if possible to get the grant in with ODOT and get the project going. It won't bid till December sometime, and the project will not begin till next year.
Okay, Chris, is this, this is pass-through funds, basically, they're state funds, or?
Yeah, it's about a $4 million project. OPWC is a little over 600,000. We applied and got a little over 2 million of half the money is safety money. Then we got CMAQ money. That's about 1.2 million. So we really don't have any general obligation in this project, or very little.
Very good. Thank you so much on that. Questions and comments from any committee members? Mr. Swirsky?
So a ton of money is coming in from the state and very little or none from the city? Is that?
Yeah, we had very little. I mean, we have some sewer capital because we're improving the sewers and a little bit of water capital and some street lighting funds. But as far as general obligation debt, no, you're correct. Very little. Safety, federal highway is the CMAQ money, and OPWC, Ohio Public Works Commission.
Good, thank you. And this is, I'll remind council, this is for the acquisition of 2 properties, which will obviously open it up for the roundabout there. Any further questions from anyone on this one? This is obviously a project that's been coming, and I know that there's been some community discussion on it quite a bit. As a matter of fact, short of any concerns or comments, would suspension of the rules work out?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Swirsky?
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules. Let's bring the money here.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. All those in favor of suspension of the rules with a favorable report signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Very good. We'll report that out favorable. And that concludes our planning committee meeting of Akron City Council. Thank you all. Thank you, everyone. And I believe I'll take over for Sarah if she doesn't mind. The next meeting's at 2 o'clock, and that's public service, right?
Okay.
Correct. 2 o'clock is public service. So I'm going to end the live stream and we'll restart then at 2 o'clock.